Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to another lesson in Aqidah, in matters of belief, and we continue in the book, in the poem by Sheikh Ahmed al-Marzuki, Aqidat al-Awam, the Masses Creed. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Alhamdulillah to Allah, thumma alhamdulillah that He has made us Muslims. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. He's made us Muslims and He's given this faith of Islam. He's given us these beliefs that we have of Islam. And Alhamdulillah, He sent us prophets. He sent us messengers. So now we're entering on the next chapter, which is An-Nubuwat. So we finished Al-Ilahiyat, about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His attributes that we've seen. Now we enter prophets. And prophets are necessary. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to communicate with us, to send us that syllabus. What is it that we need to follow for success? What is it that we need to refrain from and stay away from for success, so to not get punished? That only comes with a prophet. As up to death, okay, we're aware of things, we know things here and there, but we do not know beyond. And the only person to give us that knowledge is through revelation, is through the prophets, being the link to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who will tell us and inform us as what is to come and what is the end. What is the end? And that eternal, and it is eternal. Once Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created our ruh, it's an eternal being. Once Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created Jannat and Jahannam, the fire, may Allah protect us from it and grant us safety, and grant us Jannah. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for Jannah, paradise. Those two places, once He created those places, are meant to be forever and eternal. So the ruh is going to be living in one of those two places. So alhamdulillah, we need to know about prophets, messengers. They are the necessary link, and alhamdulillah, we have been given detailed things of what to come and what's to come after, and we have that. Whereas non-Muslims, they think that what's it when you die, there's nothing else to come. So alhamdulillah, we have that belief, and that is what we're speaking of. And now we begin prophethood. So the Sheikh Ahmed al-Marzuki continues in his poem, أرسل أنبياء ذوي فطانة بالصدق والتبليغ والأمانة. Arsala Anbiya, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent prophets, and we'll talk about messengers and prophets in a second. Dhawi Fatana, so there's four attributes now of prophets, four obligatory attributes. And first thing is Fatana, so they possess these beings, these men, but not like any other men. Yeah, they're a special rank. They're like the sons. I would say they're like the sun. So they are the sons guiding us. You know, they're and clear as day that what they are in terms of their akhlaq, their adab, and what they came with. The Sahabas who took from the Prophet ﷺ, all the disciples of each Prophet, they are the stars to follow, and they're the men around the messenger. They are the stars to follow. The Sahabas, that's what they are. So these suns, these planetary bodies of suns that guide us, that show us the way, they possess clever intelligence, fatana. They have sidq, truthful. They're truthful. They speak the truth and honest. Tabligh, they convey, so whatever they've been given, they convey that to us, the message. And amana, and trustworthiness. So they always speak. They always are trustworthy. That you can have that. You can have that trust in them. So these are the four attributes. We look at Dhawi Fatana. But before we do, so Anbiya, so they come from Naba'a, and it's about being raised. So they are raised amongst people. They're the most highest raised people amongst us, in terms of akhlaq, in terms of manners, etiquettes, conduct, everything. They are a league beyond the rest of us. And also comes from Imba, so that is to inform us with what? The unseen. They are the link to the unseen. Otherwise, and that's through revelation. If we didn't have that, we would not know what's coming after death. No one has gone beyond death and then come back and then told us and informed us. It is only through prophets, only through messengers. So they're male from Bani Adam. So there's no in the jinns kind, the fire creatures, only from this clay people, this bashar that Allah has created. Prophets are only from them, and they are also complete perfection. They don't do minor sins and they don't do major sins. That is our belief. No minor sins, no major sins committed by them, and they're perfect. not blind, not deaf, not dumb, and they don't have any defects. They are far away from defects. These are these perfect beings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen. It's chosen specifically for this occupation. And what is that occupation? That is to convey the message of oneness of Allah, to worship one Allah, and that is also they get received through wahi. So everything they receive from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is through wahi that they pass on to us, and they inform us. So messengers and prophets, what are the differences? All messengers are prophets, but not all prophets are messengers. So messengers is a more specific thing, whereas prophets are the more general thing. The messengers came with a book. They came with a new sharia, a law, a legislation. They came with a new system of worship. When I say of worship, I mean also in many aspects of life. In terms of worship, all prophets, they all called to one Allah, and the whole message was the same. So Islam, although it's not like Islam started 1400 or so years ago, it was right there from Prophet Adam, from the first creation, from the bashar, from the humankind, the clay kind. Every single one has called to that one Allah. That is the same message the whole time. So if you were to say the true Christians who were on the message of Isa alayhi salam, we would say they were the Muslims of the time. The Banu Israel, the ones who were on the true religion, they were the Christians of the time, the Muslims of the time. And so they all the ones who believe in the oneness, the monotheistic, that religion, that only one Allah, and whatever else comes with belief with that. And those are the ones who submit and they're will to that right religion and the right faith. So they came with they had revelation, because they can get visions, you can get inspirations, and that, like Musa alayhi salam, the mother of Musa alayhi salam, she was inspired. وَوَحَيْنَا إِلَى Musa, she was inspired to, and she was given a vision of what to do. And people can get visions as well from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the sense that whatever is good for them, they kind of led to that in a way. So mother of Musa alayhi salam, she put Musa alayhi salam in the Moses basket, as we say, and he was downstream, and he went straight to the palace of Fir'aun. And ironic that the one who was going to be the downfall of Fir'aun was raised in his own house as well, as Fir'aun had sent out orders to kill all the children from Banu Israel, because one of his downfall will be from one of the male childs from the Banu Israel. So Musa, she was worried, she was troubled, and this is where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had inspired to her to do the following act, to send Musa alayhi salam with full trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he would be safe. And that is how it transpired. So Maryam alayhi salam, again, not a prophet, because it's only male from the male of the Bani Adam, children of Adam alayhi salam, who are prophets. So she was also inspired visions, and so that is another thing. But prophets and messengers, they are given wahi, they are given revelation, and they have fatana. So that they have this first attribute, and the only attribute I want to speak of today, clear intelligence. So the Prophet ﷺ, he would receive many types of people with different types of intellectual levels. Sometimes the Bedouin, right at the bottom, with their rashness and with their restricted minds of how, because of what they live in the environment as nomads in the deserts, and how they would come and do things, and just how the behavior would be. They had questions, and the Prophet ﷺ had to answer their questions according to their understanding. Sometimes there would be different types of Sahabas asking the same question, but the Prophet ﷺ would answer all differently, sometimes, in some cases, every single time, according to the intellect, according to the ability of the person to grasp and understand what the message and the lesson the Prophet ﷺ was trying to convey. So he would have to deal with Bedouins, he would have to deal with war veteran generals and their level of understanding, as well as those who had studied the Torah, the Injil, the previous books, to Musa alayhi salam, to Isa alayhi salam, and those who studied those texts, they would come with questions. So the Prophet ﷺ had to have that clear intelligence to answer them as well, and all of this as well to establish proof and evidences. Every prophet would have to do that to prove that whoever they were from sent from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they had miracles to help them as well, and they had to answer various questions and give answers back in also in a way, if it was to do with matters of faith, to make them understand that what they were doing was wrong, to worship idols, to associate partners with Allah, the only sin that is not forgiven by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that to establish that, and through clever intelligence, they had to answer them in everybody in their ways. The people who were more philosophical, there were people with logic, and they were logical and had their logical minds and how they would approach things. So the Prophet had to give every single person that level of how and respond in that level of intelligence that they would be able to understand and grasp it. And the Prophet was successful in doing so. So one story I want to narrate is about this is before even prophethood though. So the Prophet always had this clever intelligence, and this was when the building of the Kaaba was taking place. As Makkah is a valley and the Kaaba, it was in the middle of the valley, so any torrential rain came, the structure of the Kaaba, it would make it it would be in need of repairs, need of rebuilding. So there was a time that came at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, when he was a young man, and the Sahaba, before Islam, this was before the Prophet ﷺ became a prophet. So they were fighting over who was going to be the one, who's going to have the honor to put this black stone, Hajar Aswad, the final thing, and once the Kaaba was back to being repaired, who would put this back? And they were fighting, and they were at loggerheads, and they were right to the point of drawing out the swords, and so there was going to be a battle. And this is, we talk about the tribes of Arabia, over little things they would draw their swords and have fights, and they would actually have war. So imagine this now with Hajar Aswad, it could have been even more catastrophic. And then they agreed that, look, whoever comes next from amongst us will be the one to decide. We should give it to that person to decide to the solution for this. And it happened to be the Prophet ﷺ. So they said, Hadal al-Amin, and Amin obviously comes from Amana, his trustworthiness. They knew that the Prophet was the one who spoke the truth, and he was the one who was the trustworthy. He would always be that full of goodness and kindness. Hadal al-Amin, Radina bihi, Hada Muhammad, that we are happy with him, and this is Muhammad, yes, we accept. So they made him the arbitrator of how to get the solution for this, bring the black stone back in the Kaaba, the corner of the Kaaba. So the Prophet ﷺ, with the clever intelligence, he said, okay, look, lay down a cloth on the floor, and then every tribe who wants that share, from every tribe, get a person who's going to pick it up. So every tribe has this sharing, this honor. But it was the blessed hands of the Prophet ﷺ who pushed it back into place as everybody had lifted it up. And so this was the solution. And the Prophet ﷺ, with this fatana, this clever intelligence that prophets need, a wajib, a obligatory attribute for a prophet. How can they be a prophet if they do not have this clever intelligence to establish proofs as well? Ibrahim alayhi salam did it. All of the prophets, they had this clever intelligence. So Allah sent prophets. Now prophets are, like I said, they are more general compared to messengers who actually got a law, a sharia. So now the prophets could get revelation, but that was also sometimes just for their own selves. It was not really necessary to convey it, but the conveying part was mainly for messengers who would have to convey the message that they got, the books they got. So there are 5 great overarching prophets, the greatest prophets: the Prophet ﷺ, Ibrahim alayhi salam, Musa alayhi salam, Isa alayhi salam, and Prophet Nuh alayhi salam. The 5 in order of preference, in order of greatness as well. 124,000 is narrated. It's a weak hadith, but main thing is Jammun Ghafir. That's a huge number, and so this is a example of a number. It does match the Sahaba, the numbers of the Sahaba, 124,000. So that's why it's kind of liked. But Allah knows best, and there's no need to quarrel over. It's a matter of, it's not necessarily you have to believe in 124 or not. Is that the right number or not? It's a number, and it does not make anyone deviate from Islam or anything if you think that's right or think that's not right. There's no issue like that. 124, the Battle of Badr, 313 people who were at the Battle of Badr. Similar number of messengers is what is reported. Again, nothing that has to be, yes, everybody has to believe in such a number, but there's that similarities. the Khulafa al-Rashidin, the right guided caliphs, so not the Prophet's people, the best ummah of any prophet is our ummah, the ummah of the Prophet ﷺ, due to him, and being the best of all the prophets and all the messengers. Five Khulafa al-Rashidin, just like five great overarching prophets. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, the first caliph, Umar radiallahu anhu, Uthman radiallahu anhu, Ali radiallahu anhu, and his son Hassan radiallahu anhu. So there's five there as well. So it's like the Prophet ﷺ's ummah has a similar number of in terms of prophets, and the numbers that go there come here, like 124,000 prophets, 124,000 Sahaba, Ridwanullah Ajma'in. And then and that's it. So mainly that the first attribute we're looking at is fatana. What is the opposite? Not having intelligence, not having that ability to establish proofs, and having that low level of intelligence and no intelligence at all really. And that is an attribute a prophet cannot have. They have to have this attribute of fatana in order to do their job, their occupation, which is to call to the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wa sallallahu Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa barak.